Hey YouTube, Destructicon 23 here today with another review. As you can see, it's Transformers Animated Voyager Bulkhead. I got this guy maybe about 2 weeks ago. It's just I've been pretty lazy. As you can see, his alt mode is that of an armored truck. Very nice, compact mode. It rolls pretty well, and it just has a nice feel to the figure itself. It's actually very show accurate, which I like a lot. Except for the whole thing with the sirens, but I don't really care about the whole siren color thing. Though he is not exactly the same green that you see in the show. Hang on, let me show you a picture. As you can see on his box, he's not exactly the same color as on the toy, but pretty much all like inaccuracies like in color and height will be dealt with the leader bulkhead, which I plan on getting as well. There are a few things I don't particularly like about this mode. Is that there's a gap right here. You can see the hands right here. It's like you could pass the feature, but there's a little bump right here where you would suspect there would be a light, but it isn't colored, so that's a bit annoying. Another thing is that I don't think you guys can see it on camera, but the windshield, it's not exactly in line with itself. It's kind of narrow. One part of it's a bit more upward than the other. But these are all passable features. So my rating for this mode, I'll give it an 8 because it's pretty good. Nothing really to complain about it. It's pretty show accurate. So now on to the transformation. First of all, his transformation is very fun. I don't know why, but it's incredibly addicting to transform. So to start out, you pull the back of his vehicle doors. You pull them backwards, and it's very accurate to the transformation in the show, because you can see the hands come out like that. Or maybe I should call them servos. Yeah, I'm going to call them servos in this video. Then you pull in between this section here and pop out these two sections. And what you do is you swing them this way, then you fold down this part. Same with the other. Then if you just gradually pull out his arms, the spring will flop them over here. Then what you do is you lock them into place. Oh, and before I forget, for the back doors, you separate them, then you pull them this way, position them. Then you pull his stabilizing servos out. And then you flip the wheels down here, which I really like about the transformation, but I'm not happy about that. It's in the show he has treads for feet, but instead he has wheels here. But it's resolved in the leader bulkhead, so oh well. Then you flip up what I like to call his backpack, and then you push his torso backwards, and that'll automorph his head out and lock into place. Alright, one thing I have to mention first, contrary to what I believed at first, looking on other reviews, I thought, looking at the backpack, it looks like you could flip these backwards and spin them. And in the show, he spins them and he makes a chair out of his kibble, which would be really cool. You can't actually do that with this figure, but it looks like you could maybe do it with Leader Bulkhead. Oh, and just for some of the backstory of Bulkhead, he is pretty much the brute of the Autobot team. He is the biggest, which is ironic because in comparison to other animated toys, he is pretty much one of the smallest. Bumblebee, which is the shortest Autobot, is smaller than the biggest Autobot, which will be resolved in the later version. And hopefully they make a leader Lug Knight, because Bulkhead needs a sparring partner. Oh, and if you've seen Auto Boot Camp, you'll know he was named Bulkhead by Sentinel Prime because Sentinel Prime pretty much thought he was pretty much had no brains. He was bulky, so he called him Bulkhead. And we find out he was the original Autobot out of the main team that wanted to become a space bridge technician. We don't find out how he meets the other Autobots yet. Some of the features of the figure, he has one of the stupidest features ever is the upchuck. I think it's called an upchuck. I'm not sure, but my feature on this one doesn't work very well, but when you pull this little lever right here, you can see right here, his wrecking ball is supposed to shoot out, but mine doesn't work very well, but we'll give it a go. And yeah, it didn't pop out very well. And another thing I'm disappointed is that they didn't color the wrecking ball, and it isn't shaped like the wrecking ball in the show, which is awfully disappointing because animated is known for its show accurateness. This figure itself is kind of a homage to two figures, one being the actual Bulkhead from Energon, like the name. Oh, and another thing is that Bulkhead's servos reminds me a lot of the grappler claws from the original Bulkhead's armor, which I don't know if that's a reference, but... And the second homage would be kind of, would be Cybertron Crumplezone's face. As you can see, he has a big jaw, just like Bulkhead. But one thing that was nice about the Cybertron mold was that Crumplezone actually had a moving jaw, as you can see here. But on Bulkhead, where you would expect his jaw to move, it does not. Though the only thing around here that can move is his head, which is on a ball joint, and it can't move a whole lot. Though his legs are pretty much articulated, even though they're pretty much stubs. Overall, I think I like this figure. The shortness itself doesn't bother me too much. Like, if I didn't compare it to any other animated figures, it would be fine with me like this figure, but it's a nice figure. And it's pretty accurate to the show. Like, if the figure has kibble, it'll have kibble in the show, which is nice. Except for there are exceptions to that, like Sentinel Prime, which in the show he has really thin legs, but on the toy they're pretty much blocks. But there's just a few exceptions here and there, which aren't too bad. But I'm pretty impressed with the figure. He was my first Voyager out of Wave 1. And speaking of waves, today I picked up 4 figures at Toys R Us. One being Ratchet. Second one being Black Arachnia. Third one being Voyager Starscream. And the other would be Voyager Megatron. I guess while I have them out, I'll just comment on their packaging. The packaging for the animated line is very nice. I like how they actually give like an image of what they look like in the cartoon as opposed to something drawn. Unlike the American versions, Canadian boxes are trilingual and they don't like have a full bio on the back, and it's kind of hard to get the Voyagers out of their packages because As you can see, they are quite strangely formed. And I'll just show you some of the other packaging. Your Star Screams. One thing I do hate about packaging pictures, though, oh, and on deluxes, you don't even get the picture of the character. It just shows waves. But one thing I find about the packaging pictures of the actual toys is that they're incredibly deceptive. And they look a lot better in the pictures than they actually do in real life, which is a bummer. So overall, I'm gonna give his robot mode an 8 as well, because other than the height, you know, the figure is a pretty nice figure. He is one of the more interesting characters out of the show. The one thing I would have liked if the animated figures actually had like red and purple Decepticon and Autobot symbols, which they pretty much get like movie figure insignias.